RIY, it's Kelsey back with some more yoga. I've got my little helper, Cleveland, here in the background. And we'll start today in a comfortable seated position as we focus on our breath for a few minutes. Feel free to turn on some relaxing music in the background or just breathe with me as we tune into our breath. Inhaling through the nose, filling our belly with breath, holding it there, feeling that expansion through the ribs, and then exhaling completely. With every exhale, forcing out all of that carbon dioxide. And as we inhale, focusing on filling the belly up with oxygen through the diaphragm, holding it for a moment, and then letting go. And maybe setting an intention for our day. And remembering when our mind starts to wander throughout our yoga practice, to just bring it back to this breath. So we'll go right into some warm-up poses. And if you'd like some more relaxation, you can head into child's pose. Child's pose, you can do a narrow stance or a wider stance with your hips, keeping your knees on the outer edges of your mat and just resting down on the mat so that your lower back has a chance to relax. You can stack your fingers so that your forehead is resting down on them, or allow those hands to run in front of the mat. Another option is allowing those arms to rest along the side. Keep it here for a few breaths, or we'll flow into our warm-up for the day. Starting in a kneeling plank, spreading those fingertips wide, elbows, shoulders, wrists are stacked, core is engaged, and we'll go ahead and exhale as we come down, pressing those elbows to the side of our rib cage. Exhaling as we press back and sit into child's pose. Inhaling as we come up, exhaling, lowering down, inhaling, and then exhaling as we press away, sending those hips back, creating some movement in the body, keeping that core engaged in our kneeling plank, lowering down as we press away, activating those triceps. You're always welcome to hold it in child's pose. Listening to our bodies. And then we'll all meet in child's pose. And we'll walk our fingertips over to the right side. Inhaling. Feeling a gentle stretch in our left side. Back to center, and then slowly over to the left. Then let's come back to center. And we'll go ahead and go into spinal balance, zipping up the belly button to the spine. We'll go ahead and extend our right leg, chin tucked down, micro bend in that elbow, and then extend our left arm, imagining as if we're balancing something on our back. And we don't want it to fall off. And if our hips start to sway, just coming back to center here, trying to keep the hips square Holding the breath here, really feeling that core heat up. One more big inhale through the nose, reaching through the fingertips and the heel, lengthening. And then we'll exhale. And we'll go ahead and make fists for wrists. Do any counter stretch for the wrists. Always making fists for wrists if needed, protecting the wrists. And when we're ready, we'll go back into spinal balance on the other side. Starting with extending the left leg back, tucking that tailbone under, reaching forward with the right. Embracing that core, focusing on the breath, trying to activate all the muscles in the body here. Your biceps are strong, your triceps, your core is engaged, your glutes are activated. You're reaching through the heels and the fingertips. One more big inhale, focus on that breath, full belly breath. And then exhale. And we'll massage those wrists once more. And we'll flow into sunbird, making fists for wrists or stacking elbows, shoulders, and wrists. We'll go ahead, starting with that right side. And as we exhale, we'll bring that knee to chest. Inhaling as we come up. Exhaling, knee to chest. Keeping a micro bend in those elbows. And again, trying to keep the hips square. Focusing on moving with our breath. Feeling that glute activation. And we'll come back into tabletop position. And then we'll send that left leg up into sunbird on the other side. As we exhale, knee to chest. Nice slow and controlled movements, no rushing here. Trying to get that full extension. Strong exhales as you bring that chin to chest and knee to chest. We'll come back to tabletop position and flow into cat-cows for the remainder of our warm-up. Inhaling as we arch our lower back, looking up. Exhaling as we tuck the tailbone under, rounding the spine without hyperextending. Moving with our breath, feeling for any sticky spots in the spine. We're welcome to hold it in cat or cow for a few breaths. Warming up our vertebrae. You're also welcome to do this seated if you're having any tension in those wrists or looking to protect some part of the body today. You can modify this by rounding in seated, exhaling, and then inhaling, retracting those shoulder blades, and rounding. Let's do this 2 more times. Inhaling cow, and exhaling cat. Great, we'll go into our first downward facing dog, spreading the fingertips wide. Starting in an upper plank, making sure elbows, shoulders, wrists are stacked. And then we'll shift those hips back, pedaling out the feet here. If you have some socks on, might want to take those off. And if you have any extra layers, you're feeling warmed up, this is a good chance to take those off as well. And we'll head right back into that downward facing dog. I always like to pedal out the feet to get comfortable in this pose. And with every exhale, send those hips up to the sky. Relax the shoulders, shaking the head yes and no. Letting go of any tension in the neck. Allowing yourself to have a micro bend in those knees, and it's okay if the heels don't touch the mat. Looking for equal dynamic tension in the hands and feet as you rip through the mat with your hands and feet. Being mindful that we're not looking to press too far back or sink too far forward, but have that weight equally distributed, sending the hips up. We'll go ahead and exhale back into an upper plank, and then we can lower it onto our knees and send it back into a child's pose. Taking a few deep breaths here. Next, we'll flow into sun salutations. I'll go ahead and show this first, and then feel free to join along. And if you have a different form of a sun salutation or something you'd like to change, go ahead and do that at home. So first, we'll go ahead and we're gonna lunge forward with that right leg. We can keep the hands at heart center or relaxing those shoulders down and back. Hands can be up in front of us. And we'll exhale, and we're gonna step that left foot to meet the right, hanging in a forward fold. Allowing for micro bend in those knees and relaxing that back. Inhaling, walking the hands up the shins, keeping that chin tucked, but allowing for that hamstring lengthening going on. And we'll exhale, folding forward once more. Inhale as we reverse swan dive up. Bringing your hands to heart center. And then we'll swan dive forward. This time, we're stepping back with that right foot, coming into a low lunge on the other side. Again, your hands can be at heart center or along your sides. Inhaling, and then as we exhale, we'll step back into a kneeling or an upper plank. I'll start with the kneeling variation. Going into that kneeling plank, keeping those elbows pinned to the sides, we'll exhale all the way down to our mat, coming up for cobra. Exhaling, pressing it back into child's pose. That's one version, and I'll go into the next. Inhaling as we go ahead and lunge forward, nice and gentle with that right foot into that low lunge. Feeling that length in our hip flexors. And as we exhale, we'll go ahead and bring that left foot to meet it, hanging in a forward fold. This time we'll hold it here for a few breaths, allowing that lower back to rest. You can go ahead and bring your hands to your elbows if you'd like. Maybe sway side to side. Or we can go into gorilla pose and wrap those index finger and thumbs around your big toe and gently pull yourself a little bit closer. With every exhale, maybe removing that micro bend in the knee. Another option is to stand on your pinky toes. Keep your pinky toes on your fingers. If you can't quite wrap the index finger and thumb around the big toe, allow that back to release. And then we'll inhale, coming back into that flat back monkey pose. Allow those hamstrings to stretch. Exhale, forward fold. And we're gonna inhale, going back into that reverse swan dive up. Hands to heart center. Inhaling, swan dive forward, hinging at the hips. Stepping it back into an upper or a kneeling plank. This time I'll do upper. From here, we're gonna shift that weight forward, going into a cobra or an up dog. Make sure those thighs are off the mat. Exhaling as we go back into child's pose or downward facing dog. Lunging forward, and that low lunge, sending that left foot forward. Again, hands at heart center or along our side. We'll flow through this one more time, stepping the right foot back to meet the left, forward fold. Speeding it up a bit, inhale, flat back. Exhale, fold. Inhale, reverse swan dive up. Hands to heart center. Inhale, swan diving forward, stepping it back with our right leg. And then coming into that kneeling or upper plank. I'll do kneeling this time. Elbows pinned to the side as we shift our weight forward, going down into a cobra or up into an up dog. As we exhale, downward facing dog or child's pose. Then we'll meet in downward facing dog. You can always come back up to that plank and then shift those hips back, pedaling out the feet. And we'll set up for warrior one. Stepping forward with that left leg. I always like to line up both of my heels with the edge of the mat. Then we'll go ahead and walk our hands up our left thigh and maybe step that back foot forward a bit more. We can shorten our stance, keeping our hands at heart center or up in front. Modifying our stance as needed. Our hips are facing the short edge of our mat. And we'll focus on our breath, feeling the strength in our quads, the lengthening in our calves, equal dynamic tension in both heels, again ripping through that mat, lifting and lengthening. And as we exhale, we'll kick it out to warrior two. We can go ahead and point that back foot towards the long edge of the mat, maybe widening our stance a bit. This time our hips are facing that long edge of the mat. Being mindful that if our knee starts to creep inward, push that out so it's tracking with the pinky toe. Our chest is directly above our hips. Our hands are relaxed, shoulders back and down, and we're looking over our middle finger on our left side. Our core is strong, feeling rooted onto our mat, pressing through both heels, relaxing our shoulders. As we inhale, feeling the strength in our quads, that stretch in our hips. Maybe lunging forward a bit more without having our chest fall forward, keeping that right above the hips. And then we'll come back to center and we'll bring both feet towards that long edge of the mat, our hands at our hips, and we'll slowly hinge forward, keeping that chin tucked down. Feel that release in the hamstrings, and we can let our hands come down to the mat. Maybe bringing our head down to the mat, just taking this pose as far as we need to take it. We're also welcome to wrap our hands around our elbows. And exhale. Feeling that inner thigh stretch. And then we're gonna shimmy on over to to warrior one on the other side. So we'll go ahead and set up both heels in alignment, walking our hands up our thighs. Maybe shortening that stance. Pressing through both feet. Our hips are facing that short edge of the mat on the other side, and our opposite foot is in front this time. Relaxing the shoulders, embracing the core, lengthening through the hip flexors, pressing that heel back into the mat. Our hands can go up along our sides or at heart center. One more big inhale. And then we'll get out to warrior two. Just as last time, our left foot can face that long edge of the mat. Our right foot will be facing the short edge. Making sure that knee isn't creeping in, pressing it out so it's in alignment with the pinky toe. Our hips are right over our chest, under our chest. Relax those shoulders down and back. You can also keep them at heart center. Feeling that stretch in our hip flexors, maybe lunging forward a bit more. Equal tension in both heels, ripping through the mat. Our core is strong. If you'd like, you can look over the middle finger on the right side. One more big inhale here. And then we'll go ahead and bring that foot facing the long edge of the mat. Hands on our hips as we hinge forward once more. And exhale, folding forward. We'll go ahead and walk the feet in, coming back into our forward fold. And slowly press through the heels, coming up one vertebra at a time. Our head will be the last thing to come up. Keeping our head held heavy. And then retract those shoulder blades back. We'll go ahead and bring it down onto our mats this time, headed onto our back. Bringing our knees to chest. Rocking side to side, massaging the lower back. And we'll go ahead and cross our right foot over our left. And we can keep it here for a nice stretch, or we can bring both of those hands right behind that left knee. We can keep it here, or we can go into cradle the baby, wrapping our elbow around our foot, or just holding our foot. Feeling that stretch in our glutes, keeping our lower back on the mat, and focusing on our breath here. And we can slowly start to come out of that pose, uncrossing our leg, and then we'll cross the left over the right, inhaling our hands behind, or going into cradle the baby, bringing that foot a little bit closer, or even wrapping that elbow around. I'm gonna keep it here. Exhaling fully. Try to imagine that we're breathing into that point of stretch and allowing the body to relax as it lengthens and opens up. And then we'll come out of that, bringing both knees to chest, and we'll go into happy baby. We can hold our ankles or bring our index finger and thumb in between our big toes as we keep that back centered on the mat and rock side to side if we'd like. One of my favorite poses. Good hip opener, very relaxing. And when we're ready, we'll come out of that pose and we can head into Shavasana. If there's any other poses you'd like to do before heading into that final relaxation, you can go ahead and do so. You can pause this video now. And when you're ready, meet us in final relaxation. Exhaling. And we'll start with closing the eyes, relaxing the eyelids, relaxing the lips, relaxing our shoulders, letting them melt into the mat, releasing any tension, relaxing our lower back, allowing it to stretch and restore itself. Feeling the length in our hip flexors, relaxing our quads, relaxing our calves and our ankles, finally allowing our feet to open up and bringing our awareness to our breath as we try our very best to remain in complete stillness. Allowing the fingertips to curl under. And bringing your thoughts back to the intention that we set at the beginning of class. And thinking about that as we rest in relaxation pose. Allowing the body to surrender. Knowing that surrendering is not passive. Allowing our body to get the restoration and relaxation that it deserves. Which is sometimes a very challenging part of our day. Shutting off the mind is very tricky to do sometimes. So when the mind begins to wander in final relaxation, we can think of our thoughts as clouds, just floating away, acknowledging them for a moment, and then letting them pass by. We don't have to hold any attachment to them. We can simply acknowledge them and come back to our breath. And we can begin bringing awareness to our body as we wiggle our toes and fingertips. And we'll find our way into fetal position. And then up into a comfortable seated position, bringing your hands to heart center. We've reached the end of our yoga practice. Thank you for letting me be your yoga guide today. I hope you have a sense of peace and relaxation that you can take with you for the remainder of the day. And as always, the light inside of me recognizes and appreciates the light inside of each and every one of you. Namaste.